Deon Dreyer was a 20-year-old South African recreational scuba diver. He died in Bushman's Hole in South Africa while exploring it. Expert cave diver Dave John Shaw died more than 10 years later attempting to retrieve Deon's body. In doing so, he recorded his final moments. Today, I will narrate what happened 950 feet underwater in that fateful dive. Bushman's Hole, also known as Bushman's Cave, is a deep submerged freshwater cave in the northern Cape province of South Africa. It has been dived to a depth of 282.6 meters, 927 feet. Its altitude of over 1,500 meters makes this a particularly challenging dive, requiring a decompression schedule equivalent to a dive to 339 meters, 1,112 feet, at sea level. Deon's father, Theo, and mother, Marie, raised him in the town of Vereeniging, about 35 miles south of Johannesburg. Deon designed loud car stereos, had a passion for diving, and loved adventures like hunting, racing a souped-up car, and motorcycling. Deon drowned on December 17 of 1994, during a practice dive while helping a team, assembled by Nuno Gomes, a New Yorker, to set up conditions for a deep, technical dive scheduled to take place later that week. According to first-hand accounts from those diving with him, Deon was lost on ascent around 50 meters from the surface. They conjectured he had probably lost consciousness either because of oxygen toxicity or hypercapnia, a buildup of carbon dioxide in the bloodstream, induced by the high work rate of breathing at depth. Deon was not the first victim of Bushman's Hole. In 1993, a bin Laden died after blacking out at 60 meters deep in the cave. 2 weeks after Deon's death, his father Theo hired a small, remotely operated sub used by the De Beers Mining Company. It found Deon's dive helmet on the cenote floor, but there was no sign of his body. After that, everybody lost hope to recover Deon's body from the Bushman's Hole, as it is too dangerous to dive in such depth without knowing exactly where the body is located. Dave Shaw is one of the world's most accomplished rebreather divers. Almost 10 years had passed after Deon's tragic death when extreme diver Dave set a world depth record in the blackness of the Bushman's Hole in October 2004. His elation was tainted by a grim discovery. Lying in the silt 950 feet down at the bottom of South Africa's deepest freshwater cave, he saw the remains of Deon, the only man to have previously attempted to conquer the Bushman's depths. Dave was an Australian scuba diver, technical diver, and commercial airline pilot, who had already made several records in diving. Unable to recover the body on that attempt, he promised Deon's parents he would go back for their son's remains, and he was as good as his words. But a promise that would cost his own life. On January 8 of 2005, Dave dove into the deep water of Bushman's Hole. It was the 333rd dive of his career. All his team and Deon's parents were waiting for him with a clock in their hands. Unfortunately, Dave never came back alive. He also died while endeavoring to recover the body of Deon. Dave recorded his dive with an underwater camera on his head, which allowed researchers to determine that he suffered from respiratory issues due to the high pressure. Dave ran into difficulties when the body unexpectedly began to float. Dave was previously advised by various experts that the body would remain negatively buoyant because the visible parts were reduced to the skeleton. However, within his wetsuit, Deon's corpse had turned into a soap-like substance called adipocere, which floats. The underwater lights used are connected by wires to heavy battery canisters. Generally, they are worn on the cave diver's waist, or sometimes attached to their tanks. Dave started working with both hands to secure Deon's body and kept his can light on the cave floor. Optimally, Dave would have wrapped the wire behind his neck, but he struggled to do so. The lines from the body bag appear to have become entangled with the light head, and the effort to try to free himself ultimately led to his death. Footage taken from his camera show breathless Dave repeatedly struggling to cut himself free, a straightforward maneuver for an experienced diver at such depths. The severities of operating at such massive depths were too much. In the event of doing so, he passed out and died. 3 days later, when the dive team was retrieving their equipment tied to the dive line, both of the bodies floated up to near the surface. Dave somehow tangled them both with the dive line moments before he had his final breaths. In the last, Dave kept his promise. At the end, Dave Shaw will be remembered as a loving husband, father of 2, a cheerful friend, and a great diver among the diving communities. If you made it this far, I want to thank you for watching. If you want to support us, leave us a like, share or comment your thoughts below. And if you enjoy this type of content, make sure you subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our uploads. Until then, see you next time.